Hello, everybody. My name is Leslie Rohde, and I'm joined today by the other neurological elements of the Marcus Braintrust, and that would be from left to right on your screen, I guess, maybe it's the other way around. I can never tell what's reversed and what's not. But Corey Burke, he's the tall, skinny one, and then Dan is Dan Thies, our founding partner, um, who doesn't like color. He's in the middle there. He's the scruffy one, I will say, and then the Michelle Chan Sangthong, who is our small business coach and also wrangles Dan. I think that's really the title, Dan Wrangler. And
Somebody's
so,
got to.
yeah, absolutely. As
Hell
long
of
as
a job.
it's not me. As long as it's not me. So I did my time. so, so what the subject of this hangout today is on how to build your WordPress blog in such a way in order to make maximum use of content marketing, in order to get the best overall effect, the best success out of what we teach in Dan's groundbreaking work, Link Liberation, now in its third version, LL3. So if you have questions, and I mean, who wouldn't have questions with such an august funnel? Then you can just type those into the chat. And yes, I know, Marge, it is kind of wild that Dan is smiling today. It's a sign of good weather, I believe, or something like that. We'll go ahead and get started with the presentation in just a moment, but we will answer all your questions. And so, by all means, please put those in the chat. Dan, before we get started, are there any late breaking news or any other pithy points of wisdom?
Hello?
Points of wisdom? Go ahead. Got anything to share before we go? No? Dan? Are you just a still picture? We may have lost Dan. He apparently didn't pay his audio bill either. Michelle, do you know of anything happening in the world that we need to announce before we get started?
In the world at large, probably not. In the world in regards to and what's happening here, yeah, cool stuff is happening here. Like for today, the Facebook interface for ads, some of that changed again today because, you know, that's just another day in paradise. So it's not bad, but it looks different. So if you logged in to upload any audiences this yesterday versus today, apparently it's different now. It's the same, but just looks different because you're going to think you're in the wrong place. So there's that for sure. Other than that, nothing really pressing that I think is warranting much more of my time on this topic.
Good. Yeah. So Corey, what do you got that's interesting in the world, small or big?
Let me see here. So if you don't know, Twitter is expanding their targeting for paid amplification. So you can do, they're basically positioning themselves to start competing with Facebook as well. So that's pretty cool to be watching. I haven't done any tests on Twitter ads yet. I'm going to work with a buddy of mine to get some going probably next month when I actually have time. In terms of, there was something else. Oh, Facebook. I mean, you've been able to do video ads, but one of the things that I learned about, you can actually add calls to action to the end of your video ad, where you can drive them to click a specific link, etc. So you don't necessarily have to have the call to action in the video. Facebook will help you add that in at the end of your video.
So they're catching up with YouTube and Wistia and the other video platforms in that regard, it looks like.
Right.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we should definitely have somebody test that stuff for us. Okay, good deal. Dan, if you've actually paid your audio bill now, would you like to jump in here and tell us what was actually going on that might be significant in search or AdWords or whatever? And he's frozen again. I'm looking at a still picture of Dan, which is really hilarious. Okay, you know what? We'll just go ahead and move forward with the presentation, and we'll see what Dan. Let's see if Dan can restore internet access here in just a little while.
Shut up, Brody.
It's on again, off again. Now there's two of you. Oh, there we go. Now we're down to one Dan.
Just one, please. One is about all we can handle.
I had to kill the other one. I'm new Dan.
I can understand how he felt, or you felt, whichever. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and turn on the present to everyone button here and get going with the presentation. Share entire screen so we get the Hall of Mirrors which everybody loves, and then jump to our presentation, and I forget where the show button is. Oh, present from beginning. Okay, now it's at this time I've learned to ask one of my August panel members to make sure that, yes, you can actually see the screen and no, it's not.
WordPress setup for content marketing success.
And did we actually continue to see that screen, or did we see a picture of Dan?
No, you're good.
All right, excellent.
Wait, we just saw Corey, though.
Oh, then. Nope, it did switch to Dan.
Oh, for crying out loud. I mean, it can't be this hard, right? I mean, surely to goodness and mercy.
Maybe I clicked the button one of them pre-flight checklists.
I clicked present to everyone.
Post-it note on your head-up display or something.
Well, I mean, it's present to everyone.
I think you're presenting to everyone, and only Corey is breaking you ever. So it says Marketers Braintrust is presenting to everyone.
Now it says that at the top of the screen. Okay, so let's try this one more time.
Let's try this one more time.
One more time.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's like, should not be this hard. I wish it was a far smoother transition between showing camera and showing slide deck. That's what I really want. Okay.
Oh.
If that's not working, then just all y'all mute yourselves. Okay. So WordPress setup for content marketing success. Yes, sir.
I don't actually see a presentation.
I do.
Wow.
So, yeah, Dan, we need to talk to you about your Powerline internet stuff. It's not really cutting the bill. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So let's move along then, and here we go. So there are three cases that we'll discuss all of them in turn here. They all have a lot of commonality and a few minor differences. So first of all, you can have the case where your blog is your site, okay, and that's the case with Marketers Braintrust, for example. So we don't have a separate e-commerce site. We just have a blog. It's built on WordPress. And it has some conversion pages buried in it as well, WordPress pages as opposed to posts. So that's one model, and it's quite often the case for service providers and lead gen professionals and that kind of thing, where you can actually build your entire site in WordPress. The next case would be you have an e-commerce site that's built on something like Magento or Bluesion or whatever, and then you have attached to it a blog, which we recommend that you build in WordPress. And that can be built on a subdomain or a subdirectory. There's advantages and disadvantages technically for both ones, but there's not any advantage or disadvantage from an SEO perspective. All of the differences and advantages and disadvantages are entirely technical. They have to do with just getting the machine to work right and also dealing with the analytics problem of connecting all that together in one account. So blog attached to the site could be blog.mystore.com, or it could be mystore.com/blog, for example. Those are perfectly acceptable in both cases. And then finally, we do find the case of the standalone blog sponsored by the site. And so you might have toysrus.com, and then the placefortoys.com. And the placefortoys.com might be the blog, and it's sponsored by, it's connected with the business, it's fully disclosed, it's not a game. You'd want to make sure that you were completely above board in things like your who is data, the copyright at the bottom of the screen. And we'll talk about some of the other ways that the blog and this main site connect to each other. And the reason that you want to be very, very clear about how they are related so that it's not viewed by Google as a game. The next, let's talk about the goals of what the blog is in a content marketing sense. Now realize that the goal for your business is to make money. Okay, I got it. However, that's not the direct outcome you should expect from your blog. Will the blog make you money? Yes, sometimes, in rare cases directly. The rest of the time it'll be indirectly over a long period of time because of the other benefits that it has. So starting with the fact that what we really want to do with the blog is we want to dominate the research phase of the funnel. So we've talked about this before, about the wide end of the funnel, before people actually have their wallets out. That's when you have an opportunity to message them most effectively, create a real heart and mind kind of bond with them around your brand. So when it comes time to fight it out in the narrow part of the funnel, they already know, like, and trust you, and you have the edge over all of your competition. If you look at a big brand like Walmart or Amazon or Home Depot, they're not doing this. I mean, yes, they kind of do it by accident a little bit because they have product, content-rich product pages. But they're not doing anything to really message the marketplace out at the wide end of the funnel because, frankly, it doesn't scale very well for a company that size. So how do we actually go dominate the wide end of the funnel, the research phase? First, we have to find a way to attract the avatar. Now, we do that with content that makes sense to them. It makes that it's going to be beneficial and valuable during the research phase. And then once we have them on our website, we need to get them to click once, then we need to keep them there. So, and we'll talk about our objectives and how we go measuring that. But we want to engage the avatar. This is to keep them on the website or keep them coming back to the website. This is going to end up growing the visibility of your brand in the research phase so that, in fact, as they're bumping around looking for different brands to buy or different characteristics or features in the product category or application ideas or whatever for it, how they use it, all right, they're going to run across you more often than they run across anybody else, and that is going to implant that subliminal message that you're the expert, you're the name in the marketplace. This also establishes topical authority. That is, say, if I'm selling hammers, I want to be the #1 authority on hammers and what kind of hammers to use and what to use them for and when to use them and how to use them, et cetera, et cetera. Everything having to do with hammers, the application of hammers. When a person is researching hammers on the web and I keep coming up, obviously I'm the topical authority. And that's what you really want to be in a content marketing sense. You want to be branded as the authority. This does also increase total search authority when you do it the right way, because content resides on pages, and pages create page rank, and page rank is the measure of authority used at Google. And so the more pages you have, the more authoritative you are. I mean, we've all seen this. I mean, the simplest way to win at search is to just have the biggest website. It's the Wikipedia effect. It's the Amazon effect. They don't actually have to try to rank for anything. The reality is, as soon as a page goes up on Wikipedia, it's going to be on the first page of results for whatever the title tag is. This also, therefore, drives higher search rankings because you don't really have to game the algorithm at all. If you're building content, that's exactly what Google wants you to do. Well, build more content, link together in a natural way, and you are going to drive rankings. So all of the things we're talking about here build both brand awareness, the strength of that brand, not just awareness, the visibility of that brand, the strength of that brand, and the actual search marketing that you're trying to do, the ranking you're trying to do. The way we measure that is we start with non-paid unique visitors. Right? Obviously, we would like to see an uptrend in the number of visitors we're getting from search. Now, it's not just search in Google Analytics sense, it's also search and social. And oh, by the way, you better be looking at direct to, because of this natty problem with HTTPS referrer filtering. And so we don't have time to really talk about that right now. Just realize that the uptrend in your organic segment within analytics is not the only place you're going to see uptick. We want to see higher time on site. And the reason for that is we gave those people more content to engage in. We want to see average pages viewed per site go up. And that's the time on site and average pages really go together. We want to see more social sharing of content. We want to see a lower bounce rate, especially on the blog. And we want to see commenting on the blog. Now that's a very high level of engagement where you get people to comment. We want to see entrances to the main site, particularly from the blog, and although from search as well, because by building out the blog and linking it to the main site correctly, we're going to build the authority not just on the blog but on the main site. There's going to be a transfer of authority there. So we also should see organic entrances to the main site go up, things that are not sourced originally from the blog. And then finally, and this is kind of almost the last edge of the onion, is we want to see business-specific calls to action on the blog getting clicked. So, and we can show a couple of examples of that. I probably should have screen captured them. But if we have, for example, a lead item of some sort, so we have a website selling some product, and there may be a free report or some other thing like that, or maybe it's a low-cost item, maybe it's not even free. We can put a call to action in the blog over in the right-hand rail, we'll talk about that in just a few moments, that ultimately leads to a page on the main site. Now, is it commercial? Yes, and so you have to balance that about the commerciality of what you do on the blog, because our research tend to indicate that the less commercial it is, the more natural linking it'll get, up to a point. And so, but you could certainly want to have some commercial intent visible in the blog in order to really make the best use of it. So let's talk about design. And this is a very short deck, but there are only about 15 more slides here, and then we'll break for a kind of a discussion among the panel. We'll give some specific examples of how this works, and also take your questions. So first of all, we want to have a right rail on the blog. And the reason is that we want to have things that are on that site that are kind of parallel, literally parallel in the design sense, to the content that's on the blog. There's a couple different ways to do this, but the easiest, simplest way is to just put up a right rail. So do a two-thirds, one-third sort of split if you're doing it that way. The reason for that is it accommodates our business CTAs over there out of the way of the content stream. If you look at the way we have our own homepage design, or our own site design at Marketers Braintrust, we're following this exactly. Wow, that's a big surprise, right? We also want to accommodate multiple content streams. We'll get to that in, specifically why in just a moment. But again, we want to be generating lots and lots of content, and we want to be able to provide lots of different entry points on a page. So we want lots of different options for what content the visitor could engage with, and we don't want to bury some of our stronger content underneath all of the smaller pieces of content we're going to build as part of the content pyramid. So we really do need to find some way to accommodate multiple streams of content, whether short pieces and longer pieces, all within the context of a homepage. And we'll talk about how to do that. There has to be coherence in the branding between the blog and the main site. I mean, if the blog is attached to the main site or standalone from the main site, whatever. The point is when a visitor transitions between the main site and the blog, they need to look similar. Now, the navigation and the headers and other things like that should actually be different. We'll talk about that in a moment as to why that is, but there should be a great deal of similarity in design. And then finally, if you're not mobile responsive in today's environment, you're, how do we say in English, screwing up. And in WordPress, it's trivial to be mobile responsive, so there's no excuse not to. Navigation, the minimum navigation that we need on the blog is, and this is somewhat specific the way we do content marketing for our clients, is that we need to have category navigation, and we should have a tag cloud or some other tag navigation. The reason for the category navigation is that's how we're separating out the multiple streams of content. And as we'll discuss here in a moment, we want to see at least 3 different categories. When you look on Marketers Braintrust, you'll see those represented in the top navigation. You'll see that we have features, we have commentaries and quick reads, or something quick reads and something or other else. I forget that one. So that is the way we've segmented out those actually I guess it's 4 streams of income that we have on Marketers Braintrust. We've segmented that out with categories. We do the same thing with all of our clients. And so when we're posting abstracts and commentaries that go into separate categories than what the feature content that the site owner is running. The other thing is, of course, is business-specific CTAs. If you have something in the nav bar or something in the right rail or whatever, it's footer, those things that are meaningful to the business that you'd like to have click through, then obviously you want to put those in the navigation. The content categories that we use more or less by default are news, commentary, and features. In the feature category, if there are multiple avatars, we recommend that maybe that be split out so that I don't know if you're writing something about education, maybe it's preschool, K through 12, and high school or college, or sorry, high school's in K through 12, K through 12 and college, right? Maybe those are the feature categories, and then news and commentary are just across the entire topic. Tags. More often than not, we find people overusing tags or abusing tags. So do not overuse. Now, what is overuse? Well, you better, for a tag to be useful at all, let me skip down a few points here. It's for human navigation, not keyword stuffing. All right. So first of all, if a tag is only used once, the hell good is that? All right. Even if a tag is used twice, really questionable that you need that tag page. A tag is something that you tend to use over and over because it's going to create an archive page just for that tag. And done correctly, those can be very valuable, highly converting pages. When done badly, all they'll do is they will get you in the doghouse with Google. So do not overuse tags. Treat it as a permanent taxonomy. Once you create a tag, it is a pain in the butt to get rid of that tag in such a way that it doesn't screw up navigation or external links that have already been pointing at that tag page. And be consistent with spelling and case. I don't know how many times we've had to fix this for clients. Oh my God. All right. Uppercase banana and lowercase banana are two entirely separate tags. And it's going to create two tag pages. What a mess. And so the only way to fix that is now you delete one of the tag pages, change the articles to, the post to use the right version, the canonical version of that, and then do a redirect of the old page to the new page. Don't let that get off the rails. That's going to once it gets out of hand. I mean, we had one client where there were literally thousands of tags and only 200 posts. That's insane. And some of those tags were just the exact same three-word phrase rearranged. So be very, very careful of tags. Used correctly, they're great. Used badly, they're really bad. For the post format, the format of posts, people are all over the map on this. I mean, you talk to bloggers and they'll argue whether or not you should have dates on your posts. I think that's the most insane argument ever made. Right? It's like, why would you not have dates on your post? I know that when I'm reading a post and I can't find a date on it, I stop reading because I don't know whether it's current or not. Is this from 2004? Like, how would I even know the veracity of what's argued in the post if I don't have a date on it? So I don't want title, author, date, and the number of comments is also really good. It's a social proof element. So right underneath the title is standard WordPress stuff. Don't get fancy here. This is not a place where invention is necessary. In fact, invention should be avoided at all cost. You want to see the title, you want to see the author and the date, and the number of comments. Number of comments is there, and a little link to comment would be another way to do it. Another good thing there is a social proof element. If I'm looking at a title on something and it has 47 comments, I'm far more likely to be interested in what's being discussed. Then, of course, the post body, the social sharing buttons below the body. We'll get to why it's below. And then 5 related posts listed by title. We used a YARP, yet another related post plugin for that. And then finally, comments. Always have comments enabled and always moderated. Now, why do you want social sharing buttons at the bottom? Because statistics show they get clicked more at the bottom than they do at the top. More than that, think about what the reader's behavior is in reading a post. Why are they going to share something before they read it? Okay, moving forward. Archive pages. These are the home page, category page, tag pages, and the author pages. These are all created exactly the same way, what's called the archive loop in WordPress. Now, bear in mind that our archive pages, home page in particular, because that's where we have the least idea of why that person is there and what they want. More options is better. So the two things you can do completely wrong here are, one is make lots of white space, because apparently Google is great and white space works, and therefore white space on our blog will work. Wrong. Okay, white space looks nice but does not engage. And the reason is, if I can only see 2 post snippets above the fold, I have to scroll to find anything I want, probably. And let's get to whether it should be full post or snippets. Another argument that I can't figure out why anybody even has the argument. It's like, no, do not put full post on your archive pages. Do not make your home page full post. I have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll to get past your supposedly required 1,000-word article for SEO purposes in order to find the next article to see if I'm even caring about your site at all. No. Use snippets on your archive pages. Make them relatively short. Make them enough to sell the click on the read more link. And make sure there's enough content on an archive page that a random visitor can find something to click on that they'll like, because that's what you want. Low bounce rate, more pages viewed, higher time on site. How do you get that? More options is better. Low bounce and low exit would be the other thing. We got to be careful about that. If people are routinely taking the call to action over the right rail, that's going to look like an exit. So non-CTA exit, right? All right. Snippet format. We've already covered this a little bit. Again, show title, author, and date. Now, if you can also show within your theme, you can also show number of comments on snippets, that's a good thing too. Don't put sharing buttons on snippets. The reason is it's confusing. It uses up lots and lots of space, ends up looking ugly as hell in archive pages, and it's easy to share the wrong thing. And so if I have snippet and sharing buttons, then I have snippet and sharing buttons, I could easily be reading the title on the second one and hit the sharing buttons on the first one. That's misleading us both. As a website owner, I'm confused. I'm not sure what they intended to share, and the person ended up sharing something they didn't really intend to. Don't do that, and it looks noisy as hell. Don't use full posts. We have already done that. Manually set the cutoff point in the post. Do not allow the WordPress default behavior that it'll just cut it off a certain number of words. Ugly as hell. Remember, the snippet call to action is to sell the click on read more. If I go to your home page and I scan through the titles and I go, meh, I'm gone. All right, that's a bounce. If I go to your home page and I went, huh, interesting, and I hit read more, now I'm engaged, and now at least it's not a bounce. I've spent more time on site and more pages viewed. You have that many more chances to get me to stick around. Post snippets need to sell the click on the read more link. Talk about how you connect a blog to social. They go hand in hand. I mean, one can argue that blogging was the first social, media, but whatever. So sharing content versus sharing, liking, and following the brand. Those are two entirely different ideas. If you want to read Dan's humorous take on that, look at our right sidebar, okay, our right-hand rail. So when I'm sharing content, that's a particular post, right? When I'm liking or following the brand, I'm saying I like the brand. And so you want to do both of them. So the home page ought to have header buttons that allow a person, your visitor, to connect with you, the brand. So those should, like and follow and plus and those things. There should also be site-wide footer links, the footer buttons that do the same thing. Now I want to put them in the bottom because you could put them in the header. I prefer seeing them in the footer. I guess it's arguable. But the most important thing is that between archive pages, like home page, category pages, and that sort of thing, compared to a post pages need to have sharing buttons. What do I mean when I'm sharing the home page? That doesn't mean anything at all because the home page is going to change the next time I post. So I don't want to share the home page. I want to like, follow, plus the home page. Okay? On post page, those permalinks are, well, permanent. And so I can share that. That makes sense. So don't get this confused. There are actually two different kinds of social buttons here, and you need to make sure you have them both and in the right place. And the reason Dan has that humorous commentary from a couple years ago is that people were routinely goofing that up. Now you need to have it connect your blog to your main site. Again, right? The blog is there to support our overarching, goal of making more money and retiring rich. So use a blog-wide footer link to the main site homepage. Easiest way to do this is the thing I invented back then called a home link solution. It doesn't do what it did then exactly, but it's a great way of announcing the relationship between the blog and the main site in such a way that it's unassailable, that yes, this is copyright by mystore.com, and it links to the homepage mystore.com. Nothing wrong with that. It is absolutely unassailable from an ethics perspective. It has some other benefits too, technical benefits. I also like to share the compliance pages with the main site, and so the About Me and Contact Us, there's no reason why the blog site needs to have a separate Contact Us. That doesn't make any sense. What, it's going to have a different phone number? And in terms of About Us, I don't see any reason why it needs a separate About Us either. I think that should point directly at the main site. The right rail CTAs leading to the main site, where you have an opt-in for an email list, you have a special offer, you have a free report, any of those kinds of things. Maybe even rotate coupons. You have to be a little careful about this. You don't want to end up making your blog into just another e-commerce site. But you can absolutely, over the right rail, where most people are blind anyway, right, is you can run the equivalent of ads. Make sure that the right kind of ads. Remember who's on your blog and why. Right? They're primarily in the research phase. Admittedly, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the blog eases the transition between research and shopping. Right? Never use keyword links in your posts. I should have put that up at least 3 times because it's one of the common things people do. And never use e-commerce navigation in your header. A lot of times people create a blog in a subfolder on an e-commerce site and use exactly the same damn header that's across the rest of their site, including the shopping cart. No, that's not what your blog is for. Your blog is not for, generally speaking, is not for the shopping, period in the visitor's life cycle. WordPress setting, make sure comments are enabled and moderated, and we have some best practices about that in terms of what plugins to use, and change the slug format. The /2015/01/13/ and some other garbage, that's a mess. Just don't even do that. It makes it really hard to maintain the blog going forward too, by the way. So change the slug format very first thing before you start posting so that it's the derived from the post title only. Google Analytics. We like to see Google Analytics combined with analytics for the main site. Now, if it's in a subfolder, that's no problem, right? It's the same analytics profile. If it's in a subdomain or in a separate domain, you got to do something special in order to make all that work. So just bear in mind, that's one of those technical things, or one of the differences technically between those several different hosting options. You want to have events defined, Google Analytics events defined on all of the business call to actions that are on your blog, so that you can track how well your blog is doing for each one of those CTAs, because you want to split test that kind of stuff. So wherever you have a call to action, like sign up for an email list or some coupon or whatever, right? Make sure that that's set up as a Google event so that you can take a look at that. And then finally, we absolutely prefer Universal Analytics and Google Tag Manager as a solution, but admittedly, there's an adoption curve there in terms of learning, and so if you're not up to that, fine, but at least get standard analytics installed. If you wanted to, everybody is going to need to move to GTM and UA eventually. That's almost an eye test kind of, but that's our current. I think this is completely current. This will not work for GTM and UA. Because Google Analytics by Yoast is not compatible with that. You do it differently with GTM. But the rest of those would be absolutely current. I think there might be a couple of missing too. Is YARP on here? Yet another repeated. Yeah, YARP is not on here. Yet another related post plugin. You can do related posts with Shareaholic, but I just like YARP better. And so we disable the related post feature in Shareaholic and use YARP instead. And so that is the end of the preferred theme. We like Genesis the best. It's the one that has the greatest mind share out there. And the news sub-theme in particular allows us to do that magazine-style front page. Now there's some challenges. We just found out about this for one of our clients. The news sub-theme is only able to do that on the actual home page. It's not able to do it any other page, which does create a problem that we're trying to work around right now, where we have somebody who's built their entire site in WordPress and the blog is a portion of it. That turns out to be a problem. We can't use right now. We cannot use the news sub-theme for that. So we're still working on that. So bear in mind, if that's your use case, this is an issue that we're working. And that is really the end of the prepared presentation. What I'd like to do now is go back to FaceTime, and I'd like to kind of go around the room and start getting some the rest of the team here involved. Let's see here if I can actually get stop sharing and whoops, stop sharing. Did I stop sharing? Are you looking at my screen or my face?
Your face.
Face.
Okay. Oh, good. All right, excellent. Okay, and then the question is whether or not I can disable present to everyone. I don't know how to do that either. Okay, so Corey is the one who lives through this mostly day by day. So
there you go, fixed.
Yeah. And so Corey, you and I have already talked about that list, and we went through and reviewed every one of our clients, 3 clients, and we've still got a few more to do because we didn't actually get over to the PPC clients. We only did the SEO clients and some of the others. But is there something you'd like to add to that, or kind of expand on in terms of how that works and why?
Not in terms of setup. I think you hit that really, really well. Obviously, there are some questions in the chat. Really, I think it's just continuing to clarify what the purpose of it is. And I think on this presentation you did a really good job, but a lot of people still don't understand that. They don't understand that they're not supposed to just blog about their product. You're supposed to blog about stuff that your avatar is interested in, that relates to their interests and their desires. One other piece that wasn't quite touched on is that at least with the first touch, these people aren't going to be coming in on the homepage of the blog. They're going to be most likely coming in off something you shared on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or LinkedIn that links back into your blog. So they're going to hit an article page. So that related post titles are important on that. Having good headlines are important on that to try to pull them into other content. The last piece that, again, you touched on it, but a lot of people are confused by it, is having an ad that markets, you own the platform, so you can advertise whatever you want, whether it's a free report, whether it's a discount, whether it's just an ad for the product to get them into your landing page for that product. That's okay. Don't go hog wild. Don't go too crazy, because that's going to turn people off from reading your news content anyways. It should be informative, and selling products should be just a nice side piece of that. Like, hey, by the way, if you are interested in this, this is what we have. I think my last piece is just that people come into the blog usually with their guard down. And if you don't have your navigation set up right and you don't have that call to action, people aren't looking for that stuff. They're not looking to hit the homepage of your e-commerce site because they don't even know it's an e-commerce site necessarily. So you do need to take a step, which I think probably one of the best ways is a call to action sidebar ad, where you're either collecting their information and giving them free information, or you're just saying, hey, here's a cool landing page about this product, etc., because they're not looking to buy, no matter what your product or service is. So make it easier for them to learn more and get inquisitive about what your products are.
You raised an interesting point there. It's almost, what's his name? Who did this? This was, it'll come to me. Dean. It'll come to me or not Gretzky, the other Dean. Cheese and whiskers. You're right. Their guards down because they're expecting content. And as long as you only are giving them content, oh yeah, over here there's kind of almost in the peripheral vision there's maybe an offer or not, but as long as you're engaging them in terms of content and what they were actually, the research they were doing, their guard's going to stay down. Whereas that's not going to be the case when they click an ad. They know that they're going to be pitched to buy something. And so that is exactly the cheese and whiskers routine of give them the cheese, don't give them the whiskers. So, Dan, what do you have to add about this?
Well, one of the things that sometimes it's easy, and sometimes we have to deal with topic bridging. And I think one of the things that people kind of get a little bit messed up is, where am I building the bridge from? The bridge doesn't start with that product I'm dying to sell. The bridge starts with wherever that person is and bringing them closer to you. And it's not always easy, but it's necessary.
Yep, indeed. And it's really almost, it's kind of the hard part of marketing and advertising. Anybody can put up a picture of a product and a price and a buy button. The real question, can you figure out who to show it to and tell them why they need to have it? And that's where you have to get into that discussion of what's your avatar? Who are you really trying to talk to? What is their life and times, and how does that product, that has solution, how does that fit in with their life? So I think that's kind of the hard work, as you point out. Sometimes it's the bridge you have to do because you can't talk about your product every day. Michelle, you talk to a lot of our coaching clients all the time about about Facebook advertising and targeting and all that. And so this goes hand in glove with that. Everything we do with content marketing gets syndicated on Facebook. So what were your thoughts on this?
Well, I think you're absolutely dead on, and it goes. I kind of look at Facebook now almost as an extension of your blog, or if you don't have a blog, it is sort of your blog. And one of the things that I have trouble getting some clients that I work with to do is to understand that Facebook is not all about buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, and neither is your blog. You need to have content there that they care about. I have one particular client who's doing really, really well. She knows her avatar, and she curates amazing content, and the audiences respond. And that's the next part of that. When you take this blog and you extend it onto Facebook and you reach them, you share content that they're interested in, they want to share it with their friends. And often their friends are in your target market too. Not always. I'm not always a big fan of the share with my fans and their friends, because, you know, if I have rocket scientists, how many of their friends are rocket? Well, maybe that's a bad example. Probably they only have 6 friends and they're all rocket scientists. But you know, in general, making that extension and that leap there. By the way, the more cheese, less whiskers is Dean Jackson. You were
Dean Jackson. I couldn't remember Dean's last name. How embarrassing. Yes.
One other tech thing, and it's not as much about the content marketing on the blog, but we see some things break when I'm working with clients on blogs, and this is probably not something you guys noticed, but we had clients who were doing things and changing the dates because they needed the dates to change, and it caused some shifts in images. So I always also on that list, I turn media images by date filing off in WordPress and make them all go into one big media folder. Because if something happens and you change the date, I don't really know why it works that way. It seems dumb to me, but it changes the date of that image somehow. Or at least that's the experience I've had. And so that's one you might want to add to your list too. It's just I just turn that off when I'm setting up a new blog. I turn it off from the very get-go.
Interesting. Yeah, we definitely ought to set that in our. Yeah. Well, I'd never run into that, but I have to look at it.
I don't know that it happens all the time. I've just had it happen a few times where I've been working on something like on the 30th, and then I come back on the 2nd and we're ready to make it go live and we need to update the dates, and something just goes haywire. And so it could just be me, but the way I circumvent it is now is I just go in, and if I don't want my posts to be date categorized, why do I need my images to be date categorized?
Oh, I think I know what's going on. Okay, what happened was somebody uploaded a piece of media, and then they added it to the post, and then they wanted to update the piece of media with like a change to the photo.
Right.
Now it's a brand new piece of media because it doesn't actually update media. Google doesn't, WordPress doesn't exactly work that way. But that may be what's going on. Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly it. You're right. That's it. So, but Facebook is definitely a great way to then take your content, and I think you guys have talked about it quite a bit in leveraging the audience that's on Facebook and now getting your content shared. I have a friend who's a writer who started with a blog, and she grew her blog because people shared it on Facebook, and she's got she's been at it a year and a half, and she's done no advertising, 5,000 to 8,000 people now who are legitimate readers and fans and people who like what's going on because she shared things with people who liked what she was sharing, and the topic suited them. So.
Yeah, so absolutely that's spot on indeed. Blogging was great, but blogging and Facebook and Twitter together, that's just like dead awesome. Gordy asked, "What do you mean attract avatar?" And this brings up kind of an interesting overarching little, rule, I guess. Everything you have to do on the web can be boiled down to 3 words. Everything you do on the web to make money, period. Only thing is to be able to sell the click. That's it. Sell the click. Now, sometimes you have to work harder to sell the click than others. So, if I put up something that's like, learn in 15 seconds how to, the 7 top ways to earn $1 million online within the next 70 days. Right? Okay. They don't have to. It's free. It has a big call to action, big benefit statement. They don't have to sell really hard to sell that click. But if I have a big button that says, $17,000, add to cart now, instant checkout, press here. I have to sell that click really hard. But 100% of the time what you do online is just selling the click, and some of them are harder to sell than others. All right, so what does attract avatar mean? What that means is there has to be something appearing in social or search that has a title that's attractive to the person I'm trying to engage with. So if I want to get young men to a site that has listings of cougars, say, hypothetically, I need to have stories, I need to have content that are going to be attractive to that, young male demographic. It has to have something in it that's going to end up in search because of what they're searching for, or end up targeted at them within a social channel based upon who they are. One way or another, or some combination of both. And it's going to have some title, basically. So think of it as an AdWords ad. You have to get them to go, oh, that's interesting, and then get them to click it. That's what attracting the avatar means. And it really, attracting and engaging are the same thing. It's just where it happens. So when it's on my own platform, the terminology that we all use here at the Braintrust is that's engagement. We already got the person to come to our site. Can we keep them? That's the key thing. Can we keep them around long enough to form a relationship with them and eventually turn them into a customer? We have to get them to the site the first time, so that's the difference between attract and engage, but the reality is attract, engage, sell, whatever, those are all just selling the click. All you have to do is sell the click. It's just some are harder to sell than others. So that's what attract is. Right rail means sidebar. Yes, that's correct. Although to that point, yes, and Corey answered that. Although the point, I think that, by the way, right sidebar is better than left sidebar for some kind of eye gravity reason. Marge is not a big fan of tag clouds. I know, and that's fine. You don't have to be a big fan of tag clouds, but but test it. Okay. I'm not a big fan of pop-ups and exit pops. They make money. I don't have to be a fan. I'm a fan of money. So test it. The thing about tag clouds that are great is because the size of the tag in the cloud, it draws the eye to what you're most about, what your content is most about. And that can be key to getting the person to stay. Remember, engage. JMax asked, "What's our favorite social sharing plugin?" So Corey, I'm kind of one that started our whole. Is there more content coming in? I like what do we have? Shareaholic and Yarp. Are those still the ones you like as well?
Yeah, just had to unmute there. Yeah, I love Shareaholic from the sharing aspect, and in terms of related posts, even though Shareaholic can do it, Yarp's algorithm tends to be a little bit better, I feel, because it works a little better. Now with Yarp, somebody made a comment in the chat that Yarp can be a drain on your resources. That is true. However, the only time I've seen that be an issue is when somebody has dozens of tags on every post and 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 categories on every post, and so Yarp is having to go through that because their site got really bloated really fast. You only need 2 or 3 tags on a post, and you really only need 1 category per post, maybe 2, but I really just 1. And people were treating that like, keywords, I'll just put those in there. And so that's when Yarp gets out of hand.
You're absolutely right. And we've, what was it? I forget which platform it was, a WordPress hosting platform that doesn't allow Yarp for this reason. But again, I have never seen a case, like Corey, I've never seen a case where Yarp failed for any other reason than the misuse of primarily tags. That's where people really go off the rails with tags.
That platform is a WP Engine?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. That's the one. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So now Kathy asked a really good question. So this is actually the foundation of the controversy, and it's just not. So let me explain my position on this. So Kathy says, if the info is evergreen, a date could make it look outdated when it's not. Okay, let's cover that. So first of all, not really true, because it depends on what it says. All right. And so if you're saying, current presidential front runners, it better say 2004 on it, otherwise you're not going to know it's wrong, right? On the other hand, if it said something like, timeless ways to earn money in your spare time. Okay, well, it's timeless, right? I mean, the title sort of says it. So it says 2004. Actually, that gives it more authority. Proven since 2004. And the other thing I'll say there is that if it was great in 2004, my God, write about it again at least every couple of years and reference the prior article. It's like, hey, I first wrote about this all the way back in 2004. Most amazing thing is it's still true. Here's what I can say about an update. We've done exactly that before. Now, you'll see some bloggers that'll do, they'll have the post and then they'll have a thing at the bottom that says updated, da-da-da-da, or they'll say at the top of the post, they'll edit the post and they'll say, this is no longer, update. There's some things changed and link to the new post, right? But without the dates, you really, a visitor cannot assess whether it is or is not. Now, the thing is, most people can figure out, even if it says 2004, and even if the title doesn't say timeless, yes, they might skip over it if they want something that's here and now, something that's happening like immediately. I want to know what happened in January. Okay. Thing is, that's legitimately they may need to know that yours is from 2004, 2007, or 2012. It may be different because here's the thing: we don't know how they got to the post. You know, maybe the piece that's in that you think is timeless is no longer timeless. You better date it, okay? And then pay attention, and when it ceases to be timeless, do a new post. So I stand by that everything should be dated on the web. Archive page, I think I explained that. That just refers to the process in WordPress that does that. What is a snippet? Yes, Bobby, these are WordPress terms. Yes, absolutely.
So let me jump in on that, Leslie, real quick, because
sure.
In fact, let's see if I can get my camera to actually function while I'm doing this for fun.
That'd be awesome.
Here we go. Okay, kind of, sort of. So you talk about snippet, and there are a number of different ways to make that happen, right? So the fast, easy thing is just to kind of write your introductory teaser paragraph and then put the more tag into your post, which is then going to be where the thing gets cut off. You can also use the excerpt field in the WordPress post and actually format your tag archive pages, your category pages, or whatever to use that excerpt instead of a snippet. And in fact, you can actually have it so that if there's an excerpt, it'll use that, and if not, it'll use a snippet. But those are the different ways that you can actually produce those.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, Dan, let's expand on that a little bit, because I mean, this gets into syndication of your own content to other platforms. And I think the way we're currently doing this, Corey, tell me if I'm wrong, because this is not in my department, that's yours. But your writers are actually doing separately an excerpt, which feeds the RSS output of the blog, but we're using the standard more tag approach for the snippet that's on the blog. True or not true?
The last part I don't think. Yes, with commentary we use the excerpt because that feeds Facebook and G+ and Twitter.
Okay.
The excerpt is short, so we don't need a more tag on that. It's just a couple lines.
No, that's not what I mean. So I mean, what the archive loop in WordPress shows, are you using the technique of putting in a more tag, or are you using the excerpt?
Well, with commentary, if you put in an excerpt, it overrides it.
Okay, all right. So that's what you were referring to then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I think, tell me if I'm wrong. This may have changed. So in terms of RSS feed out of our blog, at least for some period of time, we were teaching to use a different set of text there, and that was just about scrapers and duplicate content and stuff like that. Is that still the case, or are we changing our position on that?
Well, with the RSS feed, I'm more worried about what does the user want. Does the user want a full text feed, or do they want the excerpts? The scrapers and things like that aren't quite the same issue that they used to be. Particularly if you're doing everything else along with it, you shouldn't be losing snippet words against somebody that's just running a scraper on you.
Right. Okay.
So you shouldn't really have duplicate content issues from that. It's really more a question of which one do I want for people that are subscribing by RSS? And I think most of the time the right answer to that is actually the excerpt, not just for your subscribers, but also for you. Is give me the short version so I can decide if I want to read the long version.
Right, and to this point of using excerpt as opposed to more tag, and I've always used more tag, but that's because I'm lazy. But I mean, we for our clients and for our own blog at Marketers Braintrust, apparently we're using excerpt, so that's great. Bear in mind, right? Still, what are we trying to do here? The excerpt is trying to sell the click on the read more. And so, sure enough, you want to write the excerpt in such a way. Yes, there's a certain amount of curiosity, play to it or whatever, in order to get. For the persons that the right one to read the full post, it should convince them that they should and tell them kind of why. I mean, there's nothing worse than reading 500 or 1,000 words and getting to the end and going, it's like that was time I'm not going to get back again. You really want to give people 50 to 100 words that lets them know whether or not they should read 200 to 500 or 1,000. I mean, you're doing them a great favor by doing extras. That's what I'm saying. So, let's see. Where are we in questions?
I think
yes. Go ahead.
A really good one. And it's probably one that a lot of people feel where they're playing kind of coming from behind. He says, I hope I'm not asking a stupid question, which, Dan, you're not. The first page of my search terms are dominated by WebMD, Mayo Clinic, and other mega sites. Does that mean I should forget blogging and just do paid ads?
No.
Dan, would you like a little more answer to that?
Well, I mean, if you can look at these as like these giant mega sites that are like dominating, but most of the time when you're seeing them, it's because nobody else has got anything to say that they've bothered to get to show up. I mean, Wikipedia is a default, not a preference. And nobody else got anything to say. Nobody else wanted to put together a complex reference to something, and Wikipedia has. Well, guess what? They're there because you aren't there. But I do lots of searching around in those kind of queries, myself from time to time, and I can tell you when somebody else actually has bothered to put something together that I can locate in the first any pages of search results, it's usually right up near the top. And it's really just it's just a matter of are you doing the rest of the marketing? It's not just content marketing isn't just making content. It's marketing the content too. And when you do that, you shouldn't fear seeing anybody in the search results. So that maybe if it's 10 pages of government, I might worry about that a little bit. But
yeah, and even like the WebMDs and the Mayo Clinic stuff, I mean, I don't really see them doing large amounts of what I would call long tail content. I mean, maybe in your field, I don't know, Dan, what markets you're looking at. I mean, certainly they're content rich in a sense, but I mean, so is the FDA and
yeah, there's a lot of content there that can match for a lot of queries where if nobody else is in there, right? But also, you don't want to be thinking about this anymore in SEO at all in terms of this super high volume search term, and I've just got to do whatever I can to get on there. That's not the plan.
Right. That's what Leslie and I talk about that a lot because we have clients that keep coming to us with that question, and it's not about short tail search off the bat. It's not about like WebMD. It's not about carpal tunnel. What somebody's going to search might be symptoms of carpal tunnel or signs of carpal tunnel or how do I know if I have carpal tunnel, and those make for really good blog posts in that regard. And if your site's 10 pages, you're probably not going to rank at all. But if you do an article that's how can I tell if I have carpal tunnel, and you have a large site that is putting out really good content on a regular basis and getting engagement, that article will outrank other authority sites' pages because it's more, if it's really good content and it is more accurate or more relevant, etc. When we were doing this for personal injury law, our sites were rather large, and when we were doing abstracts and commentary based on stuff that was going on in the news. Now, it didn't happen all the time, and it didn't happen every day, and we didn't rank higher than every site out there, but we would rank right along with the local news stations with our posts. And that was relevant, and that got relevant traffic into the site. So it's something to think about, that as you build authority, you will start to play with the big boys, if you will, in terms of having authority.
And I will say, I even, before local SEO changed, I had clients I was doing local SEO work for, and I loved it when I would come into a category and there was nobody local there. It was all these crappy directories. That meant it was wide open. It took almost nothing. Back when you did link building, it took almost nothing to knock them off the page and own the spot, because even though they're there because of their size, they were never there because they had the highest quality information. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tug between relevance, authority, and quality. Those three things. And quality is more often than not a negative factor than a positive one. But I mean, it's really easy to build better relevant information, something that's better connected to the search query that the person's entered, when it's a longer tail research phrase. I mean, if you just type Viagra all by itself, you're going to get buried in garbage. I mean, good luck with that.
Can I take Viagra while I'm taking my blood pressure pill?
That's right, and we're more specific than that. The interaction between Viagra and specific medicine, right? That's something that certainly the spammers and scammers aren't building web pages around that, right? I used to, but that's another story.
Building, no. Spitting out spins for everything, but that stuff just doesn't do as well as it used to.
Exactly, indeed, that is true. Yeah, let's see. We got. I left off with there was one specific. By the way, I think you probably saw the message from Miguel about Corey about some training that we really should do. By the way. What topic bridges make sense for local cosmetic dentists when it comes to, that depends on, basically it depends on the cosmetic dentist. I mean, we do have a cosmetic dentist as a client without going into, obviously, the proprietary detail of what we're doing for them. You're going to find that not all cosmetic dentists are equal. They have a little bit different focus. They certainly have a different focus in the community if it's local. So there are things like that. And indeed, I don't know, Corey, is there enough mapping between that and kind of the more locally or regionally focused PI attorneys that you used to work for? Is that something we want to respond to that, or is there anything really useful there?
It's going to depend. He's kind of asking for us to do his work for him. He just has to dig in and see what are people interested in and around cosmetic dentistry.
Because it is going to be different. I mean, so let's tease that apart a little bit for you. So, cosmetic dentistry is done for different kinds of cosmetic dentistry is done for a bunch of different people for different reasons, and that's the avatar, right? So, who am I serving here? So, if I'm in Hollywood, I'm probably serving actors and actresses wannabes, right? Whereas if I'm somewhere else, maybe it's more of a medical necessity, or depending on somewhere else in the nation. And who am I serving? What is my specialty area? So like anybody with money is my client, that's not an avatar, right? And that's not a marketing platform either. And so sometimes as a service provider to a cosmetic dentist, maybe you have to have that hard talk that says, well, Bob, let's look at who is your best customer and who you can really attract given the services and price points you provide. Because no, everybody that needs work on their mouth is not your customer. That's not your market focus. And that's the reason that there's not one size fits all for the avatar process. You really do have to have that interview with that client and figure out what their USP really is and focus on that group and work outward from there. Same thing we talked about, several hangouts ago, about how you start doing Facebook targeting. You focus on the red spot in the middle, and then you work out from there. Not start here and narrow in. That's exactly wrong. So you don't want to say, dentistry, anybody with teeth. No, not at all. You want to figure out what is the best target and then move outward from there. So it's really going to differ on what area he's in, what his practice looks like, and all of that. So
I have a question in regards to the local market, Leslie.
Okay.
Awesome here. So if you are a strong local business, and I know a lot of the people that are on our calls are often consultants in their local areas, what about the bridge topics that relate to community events and things like that? Is it really only if your business would be involved, or is it possible to use that to sort of fill in sometimes maybe when you're lacking content, covering things that are happening in your community if it matters to your customers?
Yeah.
Corey, why don't you answer that? I mean, you do exactly that.
It's if it matters to your customers. If your avatar is a mom that has kids that are 1 to 4 years old, then you can talk about the take your toddler to the park day where they can meet other moms, and that makes perfect sense. That's if that's your avatar. Now, if your avatar is a mom that has kids that are 1 to 4, you might not want to tell them about the special event going on at the shooting range unless they happen to be into shooting guns. So what I see a lot of local businesses do, we'll just talk about anything that's local. It's not terrible, but you really want to talk about the local things that relate to your avatar. If you're a gym, talk about the marathon or the Tough Mudder or the Spartan race that's going on locally, or the competition that's going on. There's a lot of stuff local that would be interesting to your avatar. Just make sure that that's what you focus on.
Yeah, it kind of depends, too, on the size of the community that they serve, right? I mean, if you're dealing with a community of 30,000 people, it's almost everything that happens. But You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could come up with content that is very, very targeted at a particular demographic, psychographic profile for say a cosmetic dentist in Dallas, because it's a giant city, right? And so, I can target one particular type of individual. And build a channel for that avatar and probably do really well. It kind of depends on the size of the community and how much you can segment.
Indeed, yeah.
There's two articles that were totally bridge topic. This was stuff. One came out recently. The other one was quite a while ago. That you can also look at as what's going on that a large market would be interested in, but that also bridges well. Which is, if you were a cosmetic dentist, there was an article about Jewel, and she's an Alaskan singer-songwriter. She's known for having very crooked teeth, and there was a picture she posted on her Twitter or something like that where her teeth were perfect, and it was for a movie she was doing. Likewise, there was a Shia LaBeouf movie that just came out with Brad Pitt and stuff, and he actually had one of his teeth pulled for the movie. So while it's not about cosmetic dentistry, it's stuff that's interesting, and you could write about it, the pros and cons, what he's going to have to deal with, etc. But people would be interested in that.
He had a tooth pulled.
Yeah, for his character.
Well, I guess if you get 7 figures, I guess I'd pull a tooth too.
I'd make them paint it green and figure out how to do it in post with chroma key.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, that's right. I mean, they made Captain Dan, Lieutenant Dan, without a leg. I mean, come on, they can remove a tooth.
Both legs.
Both legs. Right.
Didn't he actually get his legs cut off for that movie?
And then stitched back on? Sure, that's what.
Yeah, they can just stick that back on, can't they?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Woo.
2015, man, they ought to be able to do that by now. Hell.
They have flying cars.
But if his character needs to stick his tongue through his teeth, that's the whole,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did Gollum all digital. I'm just saying, I'm not sure you actually have to have a tooth pulled. That's just, he might have just have some kind of a thing about that.
But way to take one for the team, right? Well, anyway, so Kirk tells that Yoast does now actually support UA, by the way, so we'll have to look into that.
Yep.
Although it's still, the real deal is about GTM, because the way you do analytics with GTM is different. So it's that you don't really need Yoast to put the analytics code on the page. What you'd like to do is, well, what you really need is Yoast GTM, Yoast, if you're listening.
There was one more that I saw that's way down the list that was about YARP not posting the images right for the related posts. And we don't actually use images for ours. One, because abstracts don't need an image. So when you have related abstracts, you're going to have just a gray box there. We use the link post, or the link to show up. It's basically the title of whatever the post is shows up as a link to the related post, which is also why it's important to have interesting titles for your articles to capture their attention. So the images look really great as long as you're going to use an image for every post. And with abstracts, it's just not necessary.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, replay for this, Marge, yes. She's gone now, but on the replay, you'll hear that there's a replay. That was brilliant.
For everybody else, there will be a replay, and it always lives at our YouTube channel.
Because it's Google Hangouts. I mean, yes, okay, it's a bitch to get screen sharing to work, but it also means there's like 0 post-production and immediately goes to YouTube. So that's a win. Let's see, pertaining to keeping them engaged in the site, this is from Rebecca, then would it make sense to add links to blog posts that relate to product on site? Links to blog posts that relate. So she's basically saying on your product pages, would you link out your blog? I don't think that's going to work for me exactly. I don't want people, if they're on a,
whatever you want them to know about on that product page ought to be on that freaking product page, is all I'm saying.
Yes, I don't want what we used in the day called traffic bleeds. I don't want from a conversion page, I don't want to go somewhere that's outside the conversion channel or the funnel. I want to take them in and keep, right? And then before they know what happened, they're beat. And so I don't really want to have a real respectful way to refer to customers there. So
actually, it happens. It's long after they've figured out what's happening and the rest of the trip is not very fun for them. But anyway.
Exactly. Anyway, the point is that you don't want to have those places where you're just going to lead them off, and now how are they going to get back? I mean, even if you open a new window, it's going to be confusing. You really want to have that process highly scripted at that point. One category, let's see, what am I missing? So snippet is a teaser plus read more. Yeah, that's pretty much true. Oh, wow, okay. I have a client that has been using blogspot.com for hosting their blog. I'm sorry, that wasn't me. What benefits would there be to moving their blog from Blogspot? Are those worth moving? Yes. Oh my God. Blogspot is really just a misspelling of the word spam. That's all I'm saying. And it's so hard to configure, and there's so little you can do with it. Like, try to go show me a Blogspot where you can do like related posts. Really? I mean, there's no configurability to it. It's pathetic. It's absolutely a pathetic platform. Other than that, I love it. So no, absolutely move off of that thing as fast as you can. Now the other thing is, by the way, since you don't own it, right? You can't even redirect, right? So you take, let's say you build 1,000 pages of great content on Blogspot, and then you decided that you've outgrown it, you need to go to WordPress on your own server. Tough luck, dude, because you can't
leave a note on the old site. And there you go.
Yeah, you have forwarding address, right? Just like at the post office. We know how well that works, right? So you just literally have a note. We've moved. Click here. See how well that works for you, right? Horrible, horrible, horrible platform choice. Right up there is a second runner-up. That would be a third one. As a runner-up is actually WordPress.com. I wouldn't recommend anybody there either. And WP Engine and a couple others. Because again, if you ever leave, right, you can't do what you need to do to really retain that traffic and the linking that you've put so much effort into. It's not really your platform, right? So no, absolutely, those are my opinion, those are non-starters as platforms. Period. Is there a best friend? Stephen asked a really good question here. I'm sorry, Corey, do you have something to add to that?
Oh, no. I was just going to say Ray's question, but Stephen is good.
Yeah, if the blog points to an e-commerce site that sells physical products, is there a best practice for the CTA? A subtle banner with a site logo, a discount offer, a newsletter sign-up option, or all of the above? All of the above tested. And that's the reason we want to put events on them, right?
You can rotate them and test them. There's lots of different ways to figure out which one's the right one for this page or that page.
Yep. We have one of our clients sells metal. No, seriously, they sell metal. But because of who they sell metal to, they also do a calendar. I mean, almost all of the metal they sell is to guys, so you can probably make your own inferences there. And so the point is that we put the call to action to get their calendar is on the right rail of their blog. It's a perfect thing to fit there, right? If you're a service provider and you have the top 10 things to find out from your dentist before you smell the nitrous, well, make that a call to action over on the blog. If you have a free video series, a free email course, anything like that, those are perfect things at the research stage of engagement. Again, you got to remember where these people are. Those are the kind of things that would be lovely to have over there on the right rail. Share GTM stands for Google Tag Manager. So anyway, yeah. So best practices. It's not about whether it's physical product or non-physical product. It's all about what's going to appeal most to the people at the research stage.
Ray says, should an abstract be on a single page without an image? It can mean a lot of white space. What do you think? And that's actually a common comment and concern people have. And they're like, oh, I need to have an image on there. People aren't going to read. Not true. People read lots of text without images all the time, and abstracts actually aren't a lot of text. Now, if you're going to have a lot of white space, if your right-hand rail is really long, meaning you have hundreds of categories or tons of tags listed over there, that's the only thing that's really going to drive a ton of white space in the abstract, because the related post shows up underneath it, the social sharing buttons show up underneath it. So above the fold on the screen, they have a lot to interact with. There's not a ton of white space unless they scroll down. And abstracts are summaries about what's going on. It's like a who, what, when, where, why. And if you think this was as cool as I did, click here to read more about it. That's all they're for. They're just to share really neat stuff with your readers. So they don't need an image. Yeah,
and by the way, I mean, you can see us doing this to ourselves on quick reads, right? So just go to the homepage of marketersbraintrust.com and find the quick read section and click on them, and you'll find that there's one commentary per day and two abstracts per day, and those are exactly what we do as part of our content marketing for clients. Craft the perfect email was posted today, and you can see what that ends up looking like. It's now, is that a, let's see, that looks like it might be long enough to be a commentary. I'm not sure, but that'll give you a real honest to God example of what we do. So Ted actually says he can show us how to do the screen share without the tunnel of mirrors. That's good. I'm gonna have to Google that stuff then. Let's see, what else we got here? Have you guys been looking at? Oh, let's see, Julie. I think I know who that is. I missed it. Did you mention not using WP Engine? If so, why? Oh, WP Engine. It's just not configurable. It's not as configurable as we want it to be. They have too many restrictions. Not the least of which was YARP. So anyway, and come on, it's WordPress. I mean, good grief. I mean, just get your own host and get somebody, a kid. You can throw a rock and hit a high schooler knows how to install WordPress. So this is not rocket surgery here, guys. Let's see. I think I've actually gotten to the top of the comment. Let's see, related abstract. But is it okay to add related abstracts, therefore reduce white space? Well, I mean, the related post plugin is not going to differentiate between the different categories of content. So it's going to pull from abstract, commentary, and feature articles. So I mean, it's not. I think maybe what Bobby is asking there is whether or not you would expand that out. No, I wouldn't do that. And that would be hard. That would be hard hacking to figure out how to actually do that. To take the text of posts and add it to the end of another post would be kind of tough. And you're doing essentially what archive pages already are designed to do. So no, I wouldn't try anything kind of weird like that. So okay, I think we got into all the questions. Corey, or Dan, or Michelle, did I miss someone that we really need to talk about?
Not that I see.
Me either.
I feel like we've exhausted the topic exhaustively.
Seth, link our YouTube channel in there as well. So for folks who are wondering about the replay, I tossed the link in there to our YouTube channel. That's where after each show, 5 to 10 minutes, the magic of automagicians make it happen and appear.
Yeah, if you actually add us or follow us on YouTube, you'll get an update when we post new videos. So even if you don't make the original, you'll get a notification of the replay through YouTube.
Which reminds me, we really do need to have the follow us on YouTube button, don't we? Yeah.
So should we revisit not using keywords in posts for Julie for fun?
Well, I didn't. Oh, not to use keywords in posts. Oh yeah. Let's see. It's what the bullet point read. I assume you mean not using with link text. Oh no, don't use keywords. All right. So first of all, there are no keywords. Not really. There are words that your avatar uses in thinking and talking about the subject. And those
you want to use those words too while you're talking about it.
Exactly.
But if you're just talking about the thing, you don't need to think about the keywords for the thing. If you're talking about the thing,
exactly,
you should have keywords. But if you're starting to think, gosh, where can I jam in keywords? Like you got that thing from Brian or whatever to like tells you have to jam your keywords in like 83 times or your post isn't finished. Throw that sucker out.
Yeah, and so that's, I mean, so for example, if I'm going to explain how to change oil in an automobile, I'm not going to think ahead of time, like how many times should I mention oil, oil change, automobile, service, maintenance period.
Don't forget to work in the misspellings and plurals, Leslie.
Exactly, yes.
And oil.
So I'll have to say all change at least 3 times, and the rest of the time I'll say oil change, right? You see it? And that's the silly, real world equivalent of what most people taught as being keyword research, right? And oh my God, what do they call it? SEO copywriting causes me, fits when I hear SEO copywriting. No.
No, SEO copywriting is really about being able to use a keyword without appearing to use it so that you don't get any cease and desist letters from their lawyers. But anyway.
Okay, that's an interesting view. So moving on from that, but so for keywords, no. Actually, you're better off when you write something, you literally, the body of it at least, at the very least the body of it, you don't even think about search when you write the body of it. Now, when you write the title, you might want to be careful to at least use the thing that people are going to most connect that phrase with, right? So it's like, if you're writing about mesothelioma, then you might want to spell it right, and you might not want to use a title like what to do about that white lung disease, unless you're actually trying to reach people who are typing in white lung, right? So just bear in mind, who are you trying to send the article to? Who are you trying to attract? It's the attracting your avatar. If they know how to spell mesothelioma at least well enough for Google to correct it, which is, they're really good at that, by the way, then your article is going to rank for them just by putting that in the title. You don't need to worry about how many times you use the keyword. And you certainly don't want to use like related keywords and blah, 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 blah. None of that. None of that makes any sense at all to do at all. It used to be Google was really bad at this. Okay, so way back in the day, I was trying to help a client rank for the 2 terms would mean the same damn thing: force transducer and load cell. Well, that's tricky. It was tricky then, and it's actually still tricky now because they don't really know. They still don't know that those are synonyms, but it's kind of an edge case, right? But that's the only time where you'd have to think through how you end up with two pieces of content that mean exactly the same thing, but it's almost like a different language. So what you're trying to do is, within the context of English, actually pretend it's 2 languages. That's hard. But that's an extraordinarily rare case. I cannot think of another example like it. So don't think keywords. There are no keywords. There's only the way you talk to a person that's interested.
The last part of that question, I think, is kind of what Dan covered way back in the day with his red pen test, and I don't know if Renee also kind of asks that in terms of no keyword links in posts. Yeah, don't be stuffing keywords in your links. Done. That's it. And then clean them up. If you have them, I'd clean them up.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to do that. That is clearly one of the things associated with the on-page quality measures that Google started rolling out sometime during 2012. Abdul asked, is blogging related to SEO in any way? Yes. It's basically the only SEO that's left. Content marketing is the only part of what SEOs consider SEOs that was ever within the guidelines. I mean, ever. Just because it was unenforced doesn't mean they were crystal damn clear about it being wrong. Now, I got away with it, but okay. I wasn't betting the farm on it, like unfortunately, a lot of our past clients have been, right? They built a house of cards and it got blown down in January through, call it August of 2011. Well, I'm sorry, not like we didn't say anything about this. What remains? What is it that remains out of being able to do quote unquote SEO content? That's it. You can't do. You can do limited outreach to friends and family and special bloggers and, hey, Seth, could you give us a link to this cool article we just put up? Yes, limited quantities. Yeah, you can do that. Can you go spin articles and put them article directories? Negative. Can you use forum comments? Negative. Can you use blog comments? Negative. Can you build link rings and shares and whatever the hell else these guys, call them? I'd have to, phone a friend to find out what they even call them these days, right? It's like, no, you can't use any of those things. Why? Because they were not value add. They were never value add, and now they're absolutely 100% of it figured out and found out and taken down by Google. So what do you have left? Building quality content that is attractive and engages your avatar. That always worked. It just wasn't always the most efficient, economically efficient choice. Dan was shouting as the only man in the wilderness in '08, while I was continuing to use old techniques because they continue to work. Come end of 2008, we'd crossed the line in terms of economic viability. The reality is that content is so cheap because labor is so cheap, and it lasts so much longer, that the life cycle value of doing content marketing exceeds all of the other practices you can point at that have ever been characterized as SEO.
The temporary rental of link juice.
Yeah, pretty much. No keywords in post is not quite right, Bobby. Does that mean that the abstract read full article URL should be a naked URL? No. So what we recommend, and what taught through 3 iterations of, well, at least 2 iterations of link liberation, is that use either the URL or the title of what you're linking to. Those are completely get out of jail free card. What you don't want to do is use something that is keywords for the purpose of taking. Of course, why would you be pointing keywords to somebody else's article so it could rank? But you know what I mean, right? So I don't want to write some post and then say, click here to buy Viagra online. I want to say, click here to get the best selection or whatever. I mean, whatever the article is actually about. So that would be, just bear in mind that the title of the page and the URL of the page are what you could absolutely identify as the most natural of links. Now, if you want to say click here or just here, that's fine too. That's not a problem, because bear in mind, you're not trying to rank them, right? It doesn't matter. When we're pointing at an external resource, we're not trying to rank them. Now, when you link to your own stuff internally, again, either the URL or the word here or click here, or the title. The title makes sense, and that's exactly what the related post plugins do, and they do it for that reason. If you look at the way WordPress automatically builds links, what do they use for the link text? Post title. Perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's what you want most of the time for the title of that article. And it's not so much about not using keywords in post, is that don't think of them as keywords. Just explain in human terms what you want to explain. And if you really are channeling your avatar, you will use the same words they're using, and I guess that makes them keywords, doesn't
it? One thing about the URL that I train my bloggers to do is sometimes WordPress will truncate out small words so that the URL doesn't really make sense if you just read the large words in it. So I try to get them to kind of add that in, as long as it's not a huge URL. And the main reason is just so if somebody does see the naked URL, if somebody posts it in an email or if they post it on Facebook, it'll tell you what the article's about from the URL.
Yeah, and you see that a lot. I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do. I think it's probably a minor point as long as you got the big chunk words, which WordPress does a great job of that.
Right.
Yeah, great job. Yeah. Let's see, multiple language site with subdomain. Right. If you have a multiple language site, is a subdomain usmydomain.com or mydomain.us? I think you didn't finish the question. Well, same kind of different languages isn't a problem to do with content, or is it? No. So all right. So that's not. We should actually probably do a coherent presentation on this. So the best practices. The best practices. In fact, one of our clients, I'm leading through doing this now. There are several pieces to it, and so there's guessing via GeoIP. There's cookieing, so the person can select. And then there's about how you organize the URLs themselves within your site. And then finally is the href lang attribute. And so you really want to get all those right in order to do a multi-language website. and only the beginning part of it is whether you're doing subdomain or subdirectory. I personally, for that use case, I prefer subdirectory, but it's a minor technical issue. So that's one of those things we really ought to bookmark. And if Janet's listening to this, maybe she can remind me that we need to do we ought to really probably do an entire hangout on that one topic about the multiple, because you have to get all those pieces right in order to make it work the way you want. Yeah, got it. Now it makes sense. No stuffing, just used naturally. Yes, Julie, you got it. Okay. Well, we've gone an hour and a half. Dan, anything to add here, or should we sign off till next week? Actually, figure out what we're going to do next week and then sign off.
Yeah, I got an idea for next week.
Hit me with it, baby.
Let's talk about business models.
That is very good.
And in fact, let's actually talk about the notion of mathematically modeling your business, and actually maybe even go as far as talking about how to do the math on figuring out where the big constraint is that you need to work on, because it's probably conversion, but nobody wants me to say that.
Yeah, right. We'll have a fair trial followed by the hanging. Yeah, the answer is conversion, but I'll tell you.
Well, not for everybody. Now, if they have 100% conversion rate, Leslie, that constraint is broken, and now it's probably something else, like traffic.
Yeah, right, or total number of sales, because 100% conversion means there was one.
Keyword stuffing.
It was your mom. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's talk about business models will be a good one next week. That kind of be a little bit change of pace. So,
like a zig when we could have zagged.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, good. Well, thanks everybody for carrying along with us for an hour and a half, and we will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, to hang out with the Braintrust, and it will be about business models and the mathematics of it. So
mathematicianisms.
Exactly. So anyway, thanks everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody.